I could just fall back asleep. I wouldn't mind that. All right, we got a show to do. I got stuff to talk about. There's always stuff to talk about. And here we are. Three, two, one. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Wednesday. It's January 13th, 2021. My name is Jeremy. This is my first cup of coffee. Somehow hotter than normal. I don't know. The physics of coffee. Well, yesterday was a productive day. I've gotten better at reframing Tuesdays because Tuesdays are interview and appointment day. Good morning, Andrew. Yesterday, what did we do? Yesterday, I recorded an interview. Yesterday, Andrew and I recorded an episode with a guest. I was supposed to have a noontime client call that got canceled last minute. Had a couple other client calls. What else? I had acupuncture, went to the gym, made tacos, drank some wine. It was a pretty good day. You know what didn't happen? Working on the book. This was the first day, the first weekday. I have not touched that book in like 6 weeks. And I didn't feel great about it. Why? Because the interview that I did at 8 a.m. By the time I got through here, and as you can see, I cut my hair, trimmed my beard, shaved. By the time I did all that, I had like 15 minutes left. Sitting down and getting into something for 15 minutes didn't make sense. So I think I had breakfast instead. Had a quick breakfast. But I'll be back on it today. Getting closer. Getting closer. It's funny, wherever I go, people are asking me about this thing, this novel. It's really interesting. And I think that that's indicative that something that, of something that I was hoping for. When I started doing this, I said, you know, if I do this the right way, it's something that Andrew says, I meant to tell you yesterday, your beard's looking on point. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm working with very limited tools right now. I actually have to take the trimmers over and just go and like just kind of get the hairs that are sticking out a little bit. I've got a little trimmer that I use for here. But thank you. The main goal of this novel is to sell copies, but the method, the hope is that people that are not typically whistlekick customers will find some value in it. And I think I'm onto something with that because I have plenty of people who never ask me about whistlekick asking me about this novel. So fingers crossed that non-martial artists will buy this book and that some of them will start training. That's the goal. What else? Okay, so today, what's going on today? Today I'll work on the book. Client work. Finances, which in January means taxes and stuff like that. I gotta get information for 1099s together. I gotta get stuff over to the accountant. Bleh. I'm not thrilled about any of it. It's not fun. I don't like doing tax stuff. It's just boring. I want somebody else to do it. Hey, can you go scan these things and run these reports? But it's got to get done. It's once a year. It's not that bad. Got an email from a potential client going ahead with a marketing review. Sent them over the next steps on that. So this is going well. It really is. I'm pumped. I'm busy. I'm really busy. Remember when I wasn't so busy? Remember like a year ago? And I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna do a bunch of whistlekick stuff and see what happens. Really busy. At some point, I gotta figure out. I showed you last week those Taekwondo uniforms with the stretchy material. I still have to figure out what to do with those. I gotta schedule some time for some photos and video and everything. I think I'm gonna put those out on Facebook first, personally. We'll see how many of those I can sell. Andrew says, how times have changed. Yeah, they really have. We're doing great. We really are as a team. I'm really happy with all of us. You know, I was thinking the other day, I'll respond to that in a moment, Andrew. It wasn't that long ago that I did everything. It was just a couple of years ago. I did everything. Julius was the first person that came on, helped with the podcast, and that saved me hours every week. And then Andrea came on for the social media, and that saved me more time and got way better. Julius did a better job than I did. Andrea did a much better job than I did with the social media. And now we're at this point where we've built enough of a thing. People can see the history, they can see the context, they know my motivations. They see where this train is headed and they want to get on. And we're finding ways to incorporate these people to mutual benefit. And what I like about that is that that's what every business is when they hire somebody, but they don't look at it that way. They don't frame it that way. I look at it as, okay, if we're going to bring this person on, we're going to split the profit. You run this thing, I'm going to run this thing, we're going to split the profit. Okay? Motivations are easy. We're on the same side of the table. I don't have to worry about beating you up for productivity because your motivation is the same as mine. We're trying to do some good work and make some money. I retain veto power, but I don't use it very often. So I've got a conversation scheduled with somebody tomorrow who is interested in coming on for the apparel stuff. I mentioned I need a director of apparel, someone who can come up with the designs, who can handle a few things on the back end with the designs. And, you know, we don't make a ton of money every time we sell a shirt or something, but if I had somebody who was really doing a good job with that, we could potentially advertise those. How often have you seen cheesy ads on social media for, shirts and whatever? We could do cool ones and then advertise those and then actually make money on those. There's a lot that we can do with it. So I'm excited for all these moves as we keep moving forward in 2021. Had a great acupuncture appointment. My acupuncture guy, Josh, is awesome. He's been a friend for a long time. And I do some marketing for him, and we were talking about how things are going with his business, and he's doing well. And I had a thought, because most of the businesses that I advise are service-based businesses. I've started service-based businesses. And there's a really simple formula. And I'm thinking about doing it would probably have to be a book, because nobody's going to believe the information in a guide. If I give out a free guide, it's like, here's how you start and run a service-based business. Nobody's going to believe that. But if I sell a book, maybe. So there's yet another book idea that we might come up with. Books, lots of books. What else? Had a great workout at the gym. Slept so well. Anybody else sleep with a weighted blanket? I have a weighted blanket. Put that on 2 weeks ago again. Can't do it in the summer, of course. But put that on and just kind of don't move for hours. It's a great thing. And the prices have come down so much. Blackout curtains, weighted blanket, no electronics. Yeah. Sleeping is not There's a difference between sleeping and getting good sleep, and we don't realize it. Most of us don't get good sleep until you realize you're not getting good sleep. Can't fix it. Until you've had good sleep and you compare, you think you've gotten good sleep. Most of you aren't. Most of us haven't. I thought I was. And then I had a wearable. I'm demonstrating on my wrist, even though it's not there right now. I had a wearable that suggested, you're not getting great sleep. Oh, okay. Let's see what I can do about that. Started getting better sleep and went, whoa, life is better. So, well, I think it's time. Let's see what you all wrote in. What can I talk about from your submissions? I got some stuff today from Frank. Shout out and thank you to Frank, as always. One of the things I love about what Frank sends in is that he puts stuff together as themes sometimes. And today is Make Your Dreams Come True Day. And I want to know who decides these, right? Like I unless this is atypical. Frank has a few websites that list this stuff out. Today is, Make Your Dreams Come True Day, or today is, I don't know, Pet a Cat Day. Like, there are so many of these days, and I don't think most of them are official. So who gets to decide them? I think that's interesting. Daniel says, I recently experienced that. We're talking about sleep. My sleep patterns have improved immensely since starting my weight loss journey. Great. Yeah, it's when you look at sleep apnea, the number one cause is being overweight. And it's as simple as, especially if you lay on your back, pressure on your lungs, your esophagus, just kind of pulling stuff down. That's great. If you take responsibility for yourself, you will develop a hunger to accomplish your dreams. Les Brown, the man that I consider to be the original motivational speaker. If you take responsibility for yourself, you will develop a hunger to accomplish your dreams. Why? Why do those two concepts connect? Because if you take responsibility, you realize that the only reason things aren't happening for you is because you haven't made them happen. The majority of people live a life where they blame all these external sources for why they don't have what they want. Do those other people and circumstances have an impact? Yes, they do. But can you control them? No. Sometimes. But if you can't control them, or even if you can, just take responsibility. Just do it. Just move forward. Just reach towards that goal. Andrew's saying in the chat, you can fail at playing it safe, so you might as well go for what you dream. Jim Carrey. Yes. Someday, if I die, it's probably a when, but there's some interesting science going on that subject. Maybe I'll live a while. I'll probably die at some point. Someday when I die and I look back over my life, there are plenty of things I'm going to say, that could have been better, that could have been better. But one of the things I will not regret is working for my dreams. I didn't spend 20 years in a 9-to-5 doing what everybody else told me, and it is one of the things I am most thankful for to my mother. I grew up with an entrepreneur. She didn't tell me I could be an entrepreneur. She didn't tell me I had to go work a 9-to-5. In fact, when I graduated college, my plan was to work a 9-to-5 because I'd spent so much time working multiple jobs and school and everything. I was like, I just want a simple job, 40 hours a week, and it didn't happen. So I put together a different life, and here we are 20 years later as a result of that, and it's pretty great. I've met wonderful people. I have some really solid skills that I'm proud of. And these projects that I'm working on between Whistlekick and the things I do for clients are on a growth track that's pretty amazing. I'm proud of the work that I've done. If you dream during sleep, you forget. Dreams come true if you dream when you are awake. Debasish Dabas. This sounds like a Hindi name. Debasish Mridha. Something like that. We socially downplay the value of daydreaming. And you know what? You know what's killing daydreaming? These things. I'm 41. What did I do as a kid when I was sitting there and bored? Daydream. Good morning, Nathan. Daniel says, didn't you just describe the psychological attribution bias? I don't know, did I? Maybe. We used to daydream. We used to think about things. We used to draw them and write them out. We used to dream about what would our dream house be, and our dream car, and adventures, and things like that. And there's still some of that today, but it's more constrained. Kids play Minecraft, and Minecraft's great, but it's still much more constrained than what you can imagine. You can imagine anything. Excuse me. And I think that's a shame. I think our ability to imagine and daydream are, I think it's necessary in order to improve. In order to do it, you first have to think it. If you don't spend the time thinking, how are you going to know what things you want to do? There are people who get up and it seems like they blink and it's 30 years later and they're at the same job that they hate. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's not worth it. There's always a way. Andrew says, those who dream by day are cognizant of many things which escape those who dream only at night. It's Edgar Allan Poe. A brilliant, crazy man. I like Edgar Allan Poe. I like the way he puts words together. Daniel says, I probably daydream too much. I disagree. I think it's really hard to daydream too much. Choosing goals that are important to you is one of the most essential things you can do in order to live your dreams. Les Brown. What do you want? What are you working for? Within the context of martial arts, we have things that we're always working for. We're trying to refine our techniques and make our forms better and work towards our next promotion or iron out this stance or this kick or whatever that maybe we struggle with. There's always something to work on. And there's so much that by the time you fix one thing, something that was good will actually fade a bit. I bet it, for the vast majority of us, our technical skills within martial arts have slipped in the last year as a result of the pandemic and probably a lack of training. I know mine have. So I'm working on what I can. But I have goals. I have goals within martial arts. I have goals outside of martial arts. I have goals outside of martial arts that relate to martial arts. Lots of goals. Daniel says, attribution bias is sidewalk is objectively uneven. Person A trips, blames sidewalk. Person B trips, says, I should have been watching where I walk. Oh, yes. That's exactly what I was talking about when you brought that up. Yeah. We live in a time where people are blaming everything. It's a waste of energy. Because how much of it's getting fixed? If I blame you for something, how likely are you to fix it? We will look back on the last few years in 10 or 20 and go, ooh, That was not the right way to handle all of those delicate scenarios. That or we will be, Mad Max. You can't put a limit on anything. The more you dream, the farther you get. Michael Phelps, like 19-time Olympic gold medal winner. Don't put a limit. Why put a limit? What's the point? Let's take something objective, something easy to determine. Weightlifting. I was at the gym yesterday. I was moving weights. When I go to pick up a bar, I don't say, I can only lift this 10 times. I might say, I'm going to lift this 10 times. I don't say, yeah, I can lift 100 pounds, but I'll never be able to lift 200 pounds. I just lift 100 pounds and try to lift 105 pounds next week. A lot of us spend a lot of time putting up these barriers. And psychologically, I understand that. Our ability to exist in the world comes in large part from our ability to relate to boundaries. What can we do? What can't we do? It's something that we crave. If you watch it in children, like they're looking for it. How does this work? We put boundaries on everything. It gives us a sense of comfort. But if you tear them down or you don't put them up in the first place, you've got a lot more potential, much more that you can do, places you can go, who you can be. You look at professional athletes, you look at musicians and other creatives. I think you'll be hard pressed to find how many of them had these really rigid boundaries on what they could become, not how they would operate, because that's dedication, that's perseverance, that's being regimented towards a goal. That matters. But how many of the people, let's say in the NFL, were told, you'll never be a professional football player by someone that mattered to them? I'm going to guess very few, if any. Back when I started my IT company, I had people telling me, this isn't going to work. But they weren't people that mattered to me. I didn't listen to their ideas. And to be perfectly honest, I've had a ton of people tell me whistlekick wasn't going to work. It hasn't yet, but it's still here. We've built amazing things. We have changed the face of martial arts. Teeny tiny bit. How do I know that? Because there are people who started training and started training again because of what we do. That's a change. I'll take it. It's proof. But there are people out there saying, oh, don't do this, don't do that. I watch what other companies are doing, and I see them changing some of what they're doing to be more like us. Great. I'll take it. It's a compliment. I think we got one more. Oh, did Daniel say something? With the wrong cocktail of biases, you can end up in a psychology where you live in a moment that happened years ago instead of the life you're in right now. I think most people do that. I say these two things that are honestly, they're a bit opposing. They're a bit of a paradox. All we have is memories, stories. When I talk to you now, everything I'm talking about comes in reference to things in the past, right? It's things I've done, things I've heard. The quotes we're putting up come from the past. It's all from the past. And yet, the desire, the effort to live in the moment, because I can't change the past. The past dictates my understanding of the now, but I always have the ability to act differently in the now. And when you can understand those two concepts and fully live them, which I am nowhere near, I'm working on it, you have the ability to live a pretty good life. We got one more. You know you're in love when you can't fall asleep because reality is finally better than your dreams. Dr. Seuss. That's pretty good. Haven't heard that one before. I'm a Dr. Seuss fan. Talk about a man who was great with words. Talk about a man who dreamed. I'm sure most of you have read Dr. Seuss books. Oh, the Places You'll Go, Horton Hears a Who, bunch of them. The Grinch, great stuff. It's imaginative in a way that I think most of us are so incapable of that we look at it and what's the joke people would make? Oh, there's a lot of drugs there, right? Some creatives are so creative. They have partially, sometimes temporarily, sometimes unfortunately permanently, taken a step out of reality, and they're able to see things in a completely different perspective. That's where their creativity comes from. It's why they're able to come up with such wonderful stuff. I have dabbled, not in the drug part of it, but being able to step out of what most people consider reality and see things differently. That gets me labeled weird. I'm probably a little less weird than I was as a kid. I was a weird kid. I fully embraced that. I daydreamed, I thought, I imagined. I saw and still see the world differently from most people. And it's really frustrating. But I'll continue to dream because that different perspective, I think, gives me an advantage towards the goals, towards the things that I'm trying to do right now. Stacy says, I am the Lorax and I speak for the trees. Wishing you a Seussically awesome day, Jeremy. Well, thank you, Stacy. I wish the same for you. Andrew's admitting to being a weird kid as well. I think most of us saw ourselves as weird kids. A lot of us would put on a mask when we were around certain people. I didn't know how to put that mask on. I tried, but I think that just made it worse. Now I'm just me. So, all right. Well, I appreciate all of you watching. Stacy says she still is weird. I hope that those of you watching will give this thing a thumbs up. We are seeing better numbers. Like the show is growing. It's growing very slowly, but it's growing. So thank you. When you watch, when you subscribe, when you give thumbs up, when you comment, all of these things have an impact on the show and the reach of the show. So please do. Please help in all of those ways. And remember, you got Patreon, you got the store, you got books and reviews, you got all kinds of stuff you can do. And if you've got feedback, you can email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com. So, thank you. I hope you have an absolutely wonderfully fantastic day, and I hope some of you will leave some questions, some comments, some things in the comment section below. Thank you, Brian. And I'll respond tomorrow. So, once the show closes, drop some comments in there. I'll talk about whatever you're giving me tomorrow, and I'll see you then. Take care, everybody. Peace.